Hey everyone. And that started on Facebook and YouTube at the exact same time. So I timed it really, really well. Um, the one thing I'm thinking about already when doing this live broadcast, and I'll just speak for a bit while I'm waiting for people to come in, is that on Facebook, it's mirrored. So my shirt, for example, will probably look weird to you when it actually says Team Snowden, whereas on YouTube, it is the right way around. So if anyone's watching on Facebook and you want to see, because I've done some lovely drawings for you to go through today, if you want to see it the right way around, you might want to go across to youtube.com/Myles, where I'm live streaming. So while it's starting, I'm just going to tweet about this now. It's the problem when you have to produce it while presenting it. But I want to thank everyone who's tuning in. I've got some really cool things to go through. I've got this list here that I'm going to have to read to you because it will be mirrored. And I've got some lovely drawings and flow diagrams. You know, I'm prepared. I'm prepared for today. So, yeah, let me just get the link. Here we go. And feel free to speak in the room. I've got you on YouTube. So hello, Haley. And I've got you all on Facebook as well. So hello, Patrick and Lydia from North Carolina, to be more specific. Mini Matt Films, hello. So yeah, I'll start in about 2 minutes time. So just while everyone comes in. If you are on Facebook or Twitter, please tweet this out. Especially on Facebook, if you're a part of any Bernie Sanders progressive groups that you found me from before, please do share it. As this today is all about supporting independent media. Yeah, I'm really throwing it out there today. There'll be a lot of people watching this on Rewind. It should work quite well if that's the case. Let me just tweet this now. Here we go. Why won't it let me? I'm worried that I'm accidentally pressing something. Thank you, Joel, for sharing. And then, right. 1 more minute to go, and then we'll start. I'm just going to be sharing this on my personal Facebook because diehard burner. Bernie Sanders has never been in a stronger position. Right, we're good. We're good. So I'm looking at how I've got the chat laid out because I've actually never done a public one intentionally on YouTube. And once again, if you want to watch this the right way around on Facebook, YouTube's going to be the best way to do it. But yeah, and thank you, Matt. So let's begin. Firstly, I just want to say directly, because that's what live streaming allows me to do, to everyone who's watching right now, a huge thank you for the support that you've been giving me since I've sort of returned as a full weekly video blogger since about May of last year. For anyone who's seen my end of year video for 2016 will know it's been quite a journey for me. And support can come in all forms, whether it's just watching the video content, sharing it, you know, doing regular engagements, or becoming a Patreon. All these things are brickwork in an overall effort to give me foundations to do what I really am passionate about. And it's been a scary thing to step into because I've stepped out of a huge media organization last year, and it gave me some time to reflect on what I want to do. And I thought about it, and I know what that is, but it means standing on my own 2 feet, and being an independent journalist, which is always kind of a scary thing. And so the way I've laid this out today is I'm going to try and make this 20 minutes long. And then afterwards, I'm happy to take any questions or comments and feedback from over the past year. And the way I've got it listed is this. And again, on Facebook, I'm probably going to have to hold it that way so you can see through the paper the right way around. But I'll read it to you. So the first thing was the introduction, which I've just done now. I'm then going to talk about what my videos are about. Because a lot of people sort of know what my videos are about in terms of specific topics, but if you were to summarize it, that's something I've really had to look at. Then looking at the objective for 2017, and then what the battle plan is for 2017, and then at the end I've got time for Q&As. But by all means, feel free to comment throughout, and I will do my best to respond to any questions that you may have. So with all that said, I'm going to start. So in terms of what my videos are about, so last year I was invited to the YouTube Summit for Social Change, and I've mentioned this before, so I'm going to be very brief about it. It was interesting to be at an event with other people that are like-minded, use their channels for similar reasons to me, may not be for the same campaigns, but we're all using it to try and leverage awareness and change around particular issues. Now, when you normally go to a YouTube event and people say, so what do you do? And you say, I make YouTube videos. People go, oh, and you might have to explain, how you make money, all these sort of things. You never really get to what your videos are about. And so with this event, because we were all there as content creators who make videos around social change, the conversation started right there of, okay, so what are your videos about? And this gave me a lot to think about. And I've mentioned this in a few videos before, but I actually drew a little diagram. And again, if you're watching this on Facebook and it's in reverse, I apologize, but hopefully you'll see some of the drawings, and I'll do my best to explain it to you. So I was thinking about what are sort of the different types of videos I do. Now, my sort of slogan used to be Myles, Dyer, entertain, inform, inspire, which then the BBC now use, and I think the Google use it as well. But that summarizes most great video content. It's important that you entertain, you engage the audience. It's important that you inform them so that they take away, that they go away with more information, useful information than when they first started the video. And inspire. There's no point grabbing their attention and teaching them something if they don't feel then inspired to do something about it. And so that was how I broke down my videos. But to get to a more granular level, I saw it in sort of 3 parts. And so hopefully you'll all be able to see this now. I'm just making sure it's on both pages, right? So here we go. So for me, we've got the present, we've got the past, so that's like news and world events. So once an event happens, we can look back and reflect on what has happened. Maybe in the present, we think about the way that we live our lives currently, and in the future, you like my little robot there, there are a lot of interesting things coming over the horizon. How do we prepare ourselves for that? And so this made me realize that my videos tend to be about value systems. And so that's why I've done this diagram in the middle here. And I'm just making sure it appears on both. And then you realize that in the present, it's about mental health and well-being. When it's about the past, it's about world events and news. And then when it's about the future, it's about science and technology. And everyone on Facebook is saying it's backwards. I know it's backwards. Unfortunately, that's the way Facebook is. That's why I'm having to read it for you guys. But if you're on the YouTube stream, youtube.com/Myles, you can see it the right way. And I'll post a link to this afterwards. And then the final bit was then, how does that construct into the content I make? There are a lot of channels out there that do news. that talk about science and technology, that talk about mental health and well-being. What I feel I've always added is looking at value systems. I've met a lot of NGOs and charities and news organizations in the past that say, we want to do this particular campaign. For example, we want to do something about why racism is bad. This is the content they've done, and it's, you know, mocking racism. What do you think? And, you know, you can talk about the content all you want, but for me, it's about your objective is to stamp out racism, for example. But then your starting point is, you know, saying racism is bad. That should be the end occurrence. For me, if you teach people the right value systems, and not even telling people what they are, but posing questions, massaging empathy, presenting a nuanced look on the world about the technology that's coming our way, what challenges is that going to prove to us? If we're looking at mental health and well-being, what sort of tools can we use to feel better about ourselves and to be more empathetic to one another and to take care of ourselves so we can have a clearer mind when, you know, living our everyday lives? And then there's the past. Once news happens, is just reporting on what has happened the most important thing? Okay, it is important to report on the news, but there are plenty of people that do it. What about looking at how we can break the cycle on stopping tragedies from happening again and again, not adding more anger and what's the term, sort of hysteria, which drives views in that. A lot of the videos I do don't have sexy titles like the Just World Hypothesis, but they're important issues. And as more people have tuned into my videos, they stick around because I offer something that's slightly different to a lot. I give a contextualized view on news, technology, and mental health and well-being. I'm not saying I'm the only one who does it, but I feel like that is what I do offer, and it's what a lot of people warm to. And so with that said, the objective for 2017, in 2016, it was just about, can I make weekly videos again? That was going to be a really difficult thing because I hadn't done it for a good couple of years. And it was tough, but I managed to do it. And it wasn't just making a video for the sake of it every week. It was getting one done. And so what I did here was I produced, this is what the production, the operation cycle for one video is. And again, if you're watching on Facebook, I'll read it out to you. So this is what I do for one video if I get it all done. Unfortunately, I'm not in a situation to do that at the moment. But first of all, I have to research the video. That's just not researching the subject matter, but also looking for audio clips, video clips, and screenshots. Then I've got to script it out, add structure. I've then got to film it myself and present it myself. I've then got to edit it. I've then got to export the video. Then I've got to upload it, one for YouTube, one to Facebook. I've then got to do optimizations. So whether that's SEO, doing the titles, the tags, or it's doing video programming, annotations, making sure it's presented well so it's easy for you guys to consume. Then I was doing quite well then, just from the back of it. Closed captions. This is one I haven't been able to do every time, but I do try my best. I have an international audience and I really respect people for taking the time to watch my videos. So when a video is done, I will type out what I've said in the video. Yes, I do script it, but the script is just a guide. I then have to look at, you know, the way I've said words in the video, and I will type it all out, sync it on YouTube to the audio. I'll have to then tweak it, and then I export it into an SRT file, which I can then upload to Facebook, so people on Facebook can have closed captions as well. That's something I'd love to do all the time. And then finally, marketing, which is something that I'm very good at. I just don't get time to do with everything else I have going on. But that's about seeding the content out, but also building communities. I don't want to spam people with my videos. I want to build relationships with people that this content can really help. So that is that is what it takes to make one video. So hopefully that might be eye-opening to some of you. Hi, liar politicians on YouTube for coming in. And oh, he's just disappeared. He says it wasn't working. Hopefully it works again. And so Mark has just said, I'm sure there are companies who can professionally caption your videos. There are, which gets to the next point. So last year it was about, can I make weekly video content? Because I had to have some faith and I really had to go for it. And it worked, thankfully. And I was incredibly grateful for that and for all the support you've put into me. But the other thing I did was I set up a Patreon account. Now, Patreon is an amazing website that I've looked at for a very, very long time. And Patreon is a website where it's like Kickstarter, but it's for a monthly fee. And what it means is every month someone can donate X amount of money, $1 a month, $10, $20, some people have even done $40. And when I first announced it, it was scary because I'm exposing myself to my friends and my family. I've left a very well-paid job at a big media organization, and I'm sort of saying, I'm going to try and do this myself. But I had at least 20 people put faith in me, and a lot of them put in a lot of money. And it put pressure on me, but helpful pressure to really go for it. And so what I've been doing last year is building it up. Now it brings us to 2017. There are two stages to this. And I was on this NEA scheme where I put together a business plan of what my objective is for 3 years and what the money needs to be to make this business work. And forgive me for taking a while to get to the announcement, but I wanted to give a lot of context to show where we are right now. But my honest plan is to build a media organization that is around education and value systems. So think of it like a news network, but it's not just about reporting the news. It's about taking the key news stories which really hold up a mirror to society and world events that we can then analyze and give a more nuanced perspective on what we can learn from it and how we can prevent these things from happening again. Because just getting angry about things, although understandable, just fuels more bitterness and resentment between different factions of society, when I believe it's about building common ground. And there are two key examples where I feel I've been able to do that last year. One was on Brexit. I was someone who voted I voted to remain, but I was someone who was very much in the leave camp for certain periods. And when I did my videos about why I did what I did, I also acknowledged why people voted leave, and I looked for common ground. And I found that there were people watching my videos who voted leave, who respected what I did, and also understood I respected what they did. So that meant a lot and was very eye-opening. The second was the US election. Not only we've been able to reach out to Trump supporters after the election, but actually in the Democratic primary after Bernie Sanders conceded to Hillary Clinton, there are a lot of Bernie or bust people. There are a lot of people who didn't want to vote to Hillary Clinton. I explained that if it was in the election, that I wouldn't take that approach. I probably would vote for Hillary Clinton. But I did it in a way that I said, but I hear out. If you're not voting for Hillary Clinton, I totally understand why you're doing it. And I was able to build common ground. Now, this is not to say people have to agree with everything I say. I don't always get it right. But if I make videos with that amount of humility and that amount of open-mindedness, it means we can have an open conversation about things. And by having open dialogue and having open connections, I think we can really make a difference on some of the big issues. And that's what I want my media organization to be about in the next couple of years. So with all that said, what is the situation? I had a target of what it is to be self-sustaining. Now, I am making weekly videos at the moment, but I'm also doing consultancy work to pay the bills. Now, this is not me saying I need you to pay the bills for me. I'm not saying it bluntly like that. I will continue to work as a consultant for as long as I need to. But I would love to get to a point where I don't have to rely on that as an income, and it means I can invest my time fully into researching and building a media organization where I can employ editors, and therefore I can focus more on the research and the presenting and the making the videos. Um, and it means I don't have to worry about distractions. I can still do consultancy and work with some great organizations who I'm going to be working with over the horizon. But by being financially supported by you as patrons, it means I don't have to worry about sponsorship. When I do promote things on my channel, it's not because I've been paid, it's because I love what an organizational person does, like my friend who designs these shirts, Team Snowden. I spoke about it in a video called All Right. I'm really good friends with her and I really like the work she does. And so we found a way to cross promote, once again, having transparency. So where are we at the moment? For the last 3 months, I've been really close to hitting the $400 mark. And obviously the final amount is $1,500. But every month people have had to reduce their amount or stop donating because of financial situations, which I totally understand. And when they apologize saying, sorry, I can't support you anymore, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I owe you. You've put your faith in me. And so any amount that can be donated means the world. And people shouldn't feel guilty if they can't support me financially, because it's not an obligation. There are other ways to support me. But just to put it visually, this is where we are at the moment. We're at 20%. So I'm at $308 a month at the moment. And it is a big amount. But I haven't really been driving home this target because I've been still trying to find my feet with a lot of things. I've been trying to work out how Patreon works. I've been trying to find out how it is with, you know, my video production in terms of what sort of content I make. So going back to the sort of content, the idea is that over a month, each week you do one on well-being, you do one on science and technology, and you do one on world events. But of course, a world event could happen at any time that grabs my attention. And so I might do 2 social commentaries in a month. But then the idea is on the 4th week is I do a video format called Doc Watch. You may have seen me do an episode or 2 of, where I watch a documentary with a friend and then we discuss it. The idea is eventually that becomes a monthly format, but I just haven't been able to do it because I've been juggling so much together. And then if there is a 5th week in a month, I would then do an Ask Myles. So there is a lot of ambition here. And so in terms of the battle plan, once the $1,500 a month is hit, that's when it gets exciting. And the reason it gets exciting then is I can then entirely focus on this. And although the first goal is $1,500, every like $20 to $50, something will then happen. For example, if I then raise another $20, I'll then be able to, you know, get a premium account to back up all my videos. So it'll help, you know, store resources and give me a lot more flexibility. I will then be able to invest in another microphone so I can then go out and about. And this is what I'm most excited about, is do a weekly podcast show. A lot of people have been wanting me to do a podcast show for years. It'll be an hour long. Eventually, when I've got enough money, it'll be videoed as well. But it'll be called something like Connecting the Dots. I know so many celebrities, politicians, and scientists around the world who've wanted to have these conversations with me for a long time. This will become a weekly thing. And so although the videos I do on YouTube and Facebook will be shorter and more about key issues, it means we can have a podcast show where we just discuss the way the world currently is and just get different perspectives in. And so I'd be really, really excited about that. But that will be probably around closing, you know, $1,750. So the first jump to $1,500 is a big jump, but I feel that I just have to be honest. That is the sustainability number for me to, you know, be able to focus entirely on this. And trust me, that would be me on a tight budget compared to what I've done before. But I am willing to sacrifice everything I can to make this work. And for anyone who's not been a patron before, there are different tiers. Now, last year, there were some rewards I'm still catching up with people on. I owe some Skype shows. I was going to do personal postcards, which I've still been meaning to send out. And I have made mistakes, and I have learned a lot in the past 7 months. Another thing that happened was every time I do a video on YouTube, I was losing subscribers. I talked about it in my 2016 video. I was having a net loss every month of like 150 to 200. So although I was getting new people subscribing, I was losing more. But I was like, you know what? I need to stick at this because eventually it will pay off. And what happened in November, it was a net gain. Facebook has been blowing up. And so although there's been a lot of endurance with this, I am willing to give this another year. And if by the summer I can hit the self-sustaining thing, I can't explain how exciting it is. It basically means that once you hit the self-sustaining amount, anything on top of that that is made, or well, actually some of that 1,500 will go in. I'm investing it now into this. Anything made over that can then be invested into employing editors and stuff. And I don't want to get too far ahead, but in the 3-year plan, by the 3rd year, my attic would be converted into I'm going to call it a newsroom studio, but a permanent studio. And the way I see it being used is a HQ for activism. A lot of my key activist friends, whether they're people around doing encryption, protecting against surveillance, whether it's people fighting for civil liberties, women's rights, gay rights, all these sort of things. I want it to become an opportunity to bring in great voices and have open discussions about the biggest pressing issues. And of course, the environmental crisis, which is so important. Please caption using English. Do not use English auto-generated, which is for voice recognition for the deaf and hard of hearing, Carol says. Carol, so I actually type out, I type them out myself on my videos, which is what I was saying earlier. It takes me a good hour to type out. So yeah. So I guess just to end before I open this to questions, and forgive me if I've missed any comments on that, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in on YouTube and on Facebook. What I love about my audience is it may not be the biggest out there, but it is such a core community that I'm really blown away by how deep our relationship is and how supportive you are. And you know what? If you have a strong core audience, as the audience grows, that core will be, what keeps this together. And so the plan over this year is to keep making video content each week. It's to increasingly build a strong structure, and it's to build Patreon. And so something that's going to be changing this year is anyone who donated, and let me finish first before you look at pledging if anyone's thinking of doing it. Originally, how it worked was if you paid $5 a month, you got invited at the end of every month to a monthly live stream. If you paid $10 or more, you got invited to a weekly one. This is not confirmed yet because I with my patrons in the weekly, it's like a board meeting. We have a good chat like this, but I also go through figures and updates, and I keep, anyone who's donating deserves to know about everything. That's how I want to keep it transparent and open. But I want to change it so that the $10 one goes. And so anyone donating $5 or more comes to the weekly. And then every month it is a public one like this. And that means the monthly one can be a way to outreach and say, this is what's been going on. And hopefully we get more people. So to anyone who wants to support what I do, firstly, thank you in advance. And even if it's just $1 a month, which is like 60p over here in the UK, even if you feel that's not a lot, it means a lot. I think at the moment we're at like 68 donors. So if we can get it to 100, of just $1, that'd be great. But anything is appreciated. So you can do it by going to patreon.com/Myles Dyer. On my Facebook feed, I've put it in the caption of this video, and it's at the bottom of all my videos. I'm sure people will be happy to type it for me in the chat rooms on both Facebook and YouTube. So yeah, that in a nutshell is what the plan is. And I see people like, the Young Turks, employing 2 investigative reporters for $500, $500,000. And I'm just after $1,500 a month. But, it is about being efficient and the amount I've put into this already, you know, I'm running at a loss at the moment, but it will be worth it if it works. And I'm someone who comes from, as I said, a huge media organization. For those of you who don't know, I used to work at the Guardian. I had a very romanticized idea about the Guardian when I joined. I think that's the same with any organization. There's a lot I love about them, but at a time when I think they're downscaling in a lot of ways, because they have to be sustainable. And in some ways, they have become their own establishment because they have legacy problems, and they have their own ways of doing things. They're trying to change with the times. This is a really exciting opportunity because, as I've talked about in many videos, the monopoly on, I don't want to say the monopoly on truth because truth is subjective. Everyone has their own opinion on what the actual truth is, but and I wasn't hating on TY. I was someone hating on TYT. If someone thought I was hating, I wasn't. I was merely pointing out that the budget they're looking for is huge, and mine is tiny in comparisons. And so I know there are a lot of organisations doing this at the moment. I've been in. For anyone who doesn't know, I've been in talks with TYT, and we're looking at ways of working together. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that, Bryson. My point was merely that this is a shoestring budget. And actually, if you look at TYT in their story, they started in this sort of way. They did a weekly show in a living room. It was Jenk and the rest of the guys. And over years, they've built it up. And that's exactly the route that this is going to take. The only difference is, whereas TYT is on investigative journalism and reporting on the news, this is going to be more about value systems and looking at new ways of thinking. And I've mentioned many times before that it's the diversity of tactics. How do we make progress in society? And it's about looking at the different ways of making a difference and collaborating in those ways. So yeah, I've been in talks with TYT for a long time, and so I'm trying to find out if I can join their network at the very least. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, ultimately it starts with me working with you guys. And if anyone has $1 they could spare every month, please go to patreon.com/Myles Dyer. Any help would be greatly appreciated. And if you have any suggestions or feedback, feel free to drop me a line on there, or feel free to ask any questions now. I'll be on for less. Well, I was going to be on for the hour, but obviously I don't want this live stream to be on an hour long and put people off if at the end I'm not really saying anything. So I'm happy to take questions for the next 5 minutes, and we'll just keep going with the flow until they stop. But I just want to say a huge thank you for everyone who's tuned in tonight, because this was a big deal to me. And there's a lot of things that I've got to get in place in the short term. I've got to get back on with making videos again because it's a new year. So Tuesday, I've got a few ideas of what the video is going to be about. My website is currently under construction, so I've got to finish that. And I'm running into a fiscal cliff. So I'm currently on it's like job seekers allowance, but it's for running your own business from the government. That cuts out in February. And then I'm in serious trouble. So I'm having to make sure I've got some work coming in for then. So it's going to be an interesting 6 weeks, but an exciting one. Make coffee at home and support Myles. That's the thing that's always said, if you just have one less coffee at a coffee shop every month, you help fund this. But I can't stress enough how much I'm grateful for you guys. So yeah, did you like my drawings today, by the way? Well, they were quite cool. Thank you, Shayna. Martin said, I missed the first part of the live stream, so I'm not sure what the overall topic is. That's absolutely fine. So once this finishes, the live stream will be publicly available to rewatch on YouTube and on Facebook. That's cool, Andy. Well, the hope is once self-sustaining. For me, editing at the moment, I'm able to get it done. My point is, and that's what I talk about, this self-sustaining level, is once that is hit, it just frees up resources to then improve the quality. I used to wear this at work, but I did work at the Guardian, so yeah. Joel says turn it over. What do you mean turn it over? Martin says, I worry that organisations like TYT may fall into the same traps that other large media companies do, despite their fundraising abilities due to their centralised structures. And that's not like a personal criticism. That is always the thing you have to be careful of. Is as you grow, you have legacy issues, which means the bigger you are, the harder it is to change and adapt. I think TYT with their investigative reporting are really, and I think being a progressive force against the Trump administration, I think is going to put them in a really good position. But it also means the risk runs of becoming an established form of that. But I don't know. I think they've got a really good diversity of people. So yeah. And he says, "Hey Myles, how would you advise becoming more involved in activism in terms of communication of ideas?" That's a whole video, isn't it, Annie? Well, there's a video. I don't know if you've seen the video I did called "A Better Way to Argue." If you go on my YouTube or Facebook, there's a video I did called "A Better Way to Argue," and that is really the crux of having conversations with people. I know, I can't on this. So this was, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that, the sustainability target. So $308 at 20%. Let's go on Patreon at the moment because some people said they've been donating. So I want to check this. I know it's really annoying that there's no option to swap it, because if I do turn the camera the other way, I don't know if it's in shot and I can't read the chat. So at the moment I'm at $315. So it's just gone up by $7. So thank you. 66 patrons. Can I get 4 more people to become patrons right now? Go to patreon.com/Myles Dyer. Just donate $1 a month, and you can do $1. And if you don't want to do it after that, you can stop. It'd be cool to hit 70. Yeah, it was worth a try. You know what I should have done? I should have traced it backwards. And thank you. I'll keep following, making a difference in my goal too. Would love to support you financially, but barely making it myself. Here's to a better year for us all. Thanks for caring about our world. Well, Lydia, I totally appreciate that. And so when I do these call to actions, I don't want anyone ever to feel guilty if they can't financially support me. There are other ways to do it, watching and sharing and stuff like that. But yeah, if you go on my Patreon page, people can see the goal and how it is. I mean, this is how it looks at the moment. I'm sorry, on YouTube I can't do it, but on Facebook. So there we go, 66 patrons, $3.15 a month, and that's the target. It's going to be difficult, but I'm going to really look at some ways to drive it. And actually something I'm going to do this month, which I've been meaning to do for a while, is do a reach out to my friends and family and asking them to get behind it. The reason I haven't done it up to now is because I didn't want the core of Patreon to be close friends and family first. I wanted to be people that really dig my videos and want to support me there, because I want them to be sort of the driving force. Martin, thank you so much. By the way, if anyone else has become a patron, let me know and I'll give you a personal thanks right now. Obviously, if you sign up to one of the higher levels, you get a personal shout out at the end of one of my videos. So yeah. One of the hardest bits about setting up Patreon was getting out of this cycle for 10 years of feeling guilty about asking people to invest in you. But that's how the world works. You just got to make sure people are investing. Minimap Films, thank you so much. Just increased his by $10. Legend. Barry, how it says, how have you been doing, Myles? I'll look into everything you're doing. Thank you so much, Barry. Please do check out patreon.com because you know, it would be great to do a podcast. I know the podcast show would be epic. I mean, just to give you an example, for anyone who wants to know why I want to, and Bryson just pledged. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you brought up the TYT thing because I wanted to make sure I wasn't criticizing. I was just merely pointing stuff out. Hey, the awesome YouTuber, great name. I'm in the UK. If so, did your interest in US politics start with Bernie's primary campaign? No, I've always had an interest. I've always done it on US politics because US politics affects the UK. If the US doesn't get their climate policy sorted, we have no hope over here. And so, although some people may say, shouldn't I focus on UK politics? I think of global issues. And when I think of global issues, I think where is the catalyst to make change? And it is in the US. And I find that what I add strength to is when I do videos about the US progressive movement, etc., a lot of Americans like it because it gives them a heightened consciousness about the fact that their country has an impact on the world. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a negative one. It can be one for positive change. And so that's why I do what I do. Could someone type my Patreon thing in the Facebook? Actually, no, I can do it here now. Thank you so much. But sorry, what I was going to say was about my podcast show was at the beginning of last year, was it? Oh, I didn't put that in my end of year review. I spoke to Jeremy Corbyn, who's running in the UK, and I had an interview scheduled with him about progressive politics. And I was going to have Bernie Sanders Skype in as well. And we were going to have a long conversation about progressive politics on both sides of the Atlantic. I was just waiting from Washington, D.C. from Bernie's people. And then that was when he started getting huge traction. And so his people said that he was no longer able to do an interview. And so I was holding on for that. And so when I finally got back to Jeremy Corbyn's people, they couldn't do it either. Think globally, act locally. Absolutely, Mary. I've been invited to speak at the Z-Day for the Zeitgeist movement this year, which I'm excited about. Annie, thank you so much. Barry's been subbed to me way past the Stickade days. I know that's old, right? Martin, thank you, good sir. And yeah, Annie, poor student, as in financially, not poor as in performing well, performing bad. Hopefully you don't mean it like that. Well, Annie, seriously, and even if you're after a month you're not able to do it anymore and you have to cut it, that's absolutely fine. I just want to make it clear there is no guilt attached with this. Any help is help, and yeah. Luke, seriously, thank you so much. I don't know if I want to read that out entirely, what Luke said. Mark, £1 is a lot, man. This is the thing as well, is I'm all about decentralized power and having here's an example, right? When I first started, I had a few people contribute huge amounts of money, which was of course amazing. The problem that came with that was when individuals couldn't do it anymore, that takes a huge chunk. So as I said, I was about to hit $400 and it's gone right back down to $300 because a few great contributors have had to downsize, which is totally understandable. And so if I can get lots of people to do just $1 a month, for example, that means that any changes of people leaving will not shake the boat too much, if that makes sense. Victor, thank you so much. Frank, I'll be at Z-Day London. God, Stickade. I'll talk. I want to do a video about Stickade at some point about why it stopped, because it was a real big turning point in my life. The last one, I went into debt because of it. It was a tough gig. Cool. Well, I'm happy to stay on, and if anyone's got any questions or anything, do let me know. I'm just going to refresh the Patreon page. So we're at 315 with 66, and we're now at. Oh, it hasn't updated yet. Maybe it's. I'm sure it'll update in a bit. Well, do you know, it was one that Martin just said, I've been very interested in decentralization, especially online. So I did this video quite a few years ago called Decentralize Everything. And there was a big sort of caveat to that video I never did. And I actually scripted the caveat to do last year, and I never got round to it. So I will return to it, because decentralization of power is not the end goal. You decentralize power to then network it, if that makes sense. So for example, decentralize energy systems. So everyone starts producing their own energy. But that's not good if you just do it yourself, because what if my solar panels break? I'm screwed. So you need to network it, have a grid. I can feed into it. If someone has a power cut, I can help them. If I have a power cut, they can help me. And that's the way it works. And that should happen with information. It should happen with access to technology. It should have to be to do with wealth. And when we talk about wealth, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about access to resources, to the necessities of life. But the challenge, and so this is one of the futurism value systems I've been talking about. A video I'm going to do very soon is about the biggest challenge of our generation, which is that as technology moves forward, it's going to challenge value systems of those who control information, wealth, power, energy, political will. And they're going to want to hold on to it because that's how they've always lived. And what might happen is they use technology to maintain that power, and that is when it gets really scary. Whereas if we can break free of it, we can then empower the masses in a way that there is no centralized power. It is a form of anarchism, but it's actually structured because of the speed in which information will travel across society. Now, that is a conversation for another time, but yeah, there's a lot for me to talk about. Hey, Holly. For anyone who's just tuned in, once this live show ends, you can tune in, watch from the beginning. The first 20 minutes is an explanation of what I'm doing, and you can watch it on youtube.com/Myles, MYLES, or facebook.com/Myles Dyer Official. Wow. Seriously. Oh my God. That went from 66 patrons to 74. Thank you so much. And that's, so at the beginning, we were at 308. Sorry, on Facebook. 308, 20%. We're at now $371. I mean, a part of me wants to think, can we get another $29 pledged before the end? If anyone out there has not pledged yet and does have a spare dollar, please visit patreon.com/Myles Dyer and pledge today. This is all to help the start of a media organization that is around value systems. It's going to be a whole new way of doing media reporting, because I'm sick and tired of traditional media organizations that keep falling trap to sensationalism and those that want to divide us. I mean, I'll give you another example of why it's important to talk about value systems. Let's say here we go. Watch this. I don't know what way it's going to look for you on Facebook. Let's say we've got two baskets. In one basket, we've got this concept of leftists. Oh, those goddamn intolerant leftists. And on the other hand, we have these those right-wing extremists, yeah? So you have these two extreme factions in society. What percentage of the population actually belong in each of these? Probably a very small percentage, but it takes one person to shoot a cop. Those leftists. You put that story in there, and then that's your narrative. These intolerant leftists. They ban someone from speaking at a university. Those goddamn leftists. There's a shooting at a school. Those right wingers protecting gun control. A racist attack. Those right wingers, extremists. It's not to say that right wing and left wing extremism doesn't exist, but it's about talking about it in context, because what you find is between these two buckets or baskets is people like me who don't know where I fit, because I'm looking at the news and it's about that and that. And here we are in the middle thinking, there's actually a spectrum of political beliefs, and the news is getting filled up with that. There's a great quote I read at the museum, which is, when a dog bites a man, it's not a news story, but when a man bites a dog, it is. And that's the exact problem. We live in a day of anti-nuance. Sorry, guys, not all the comments come up on my phone, so I'm now reading them on here. What are my thoughts on universal basic income in response to the automation of many people's jobs? I mean, this is something I've been wanting to see for about 5-6 years now, and the fact it's been discussed in the mainstream is fantastic. I think it needs to be tried out, and I mean, I'm someone who believes in the concept of a resource-based economy, but I don't think it's something that we can make happen. I think it's an inevitability. This is it. When I'm having a conversation about, let's say, Donald Trump, I'm not here talking about Trump supporters or Trump. Talk about the issues. Like, there's some people I'm friends with on Facebook who you'd be really surprised with. Some people who are from what are arguably like quite extreme aspects of the media. But I like having conversations with them because we do agree on some stuff, and other stuff we fundamentally disagree. But at least have those conversations. Like, another video I might do at some point is why I never get angry anymore. I did touch upon it on the quest for global empathy. I talked about having patience, and it's because I realized that we're all victims of circumstance. We're all people that have believed the way we do because of the language we've been taught and the experiences we've had. I don't get angry with people. Yeah, I get disheartened when I see sick stuff happen on the news, like those people that beat up that and tortured that mentally ill guy just the other day. Absolutely sick and just abominable, and action needs to be taken against those individuals. But do I think those people are inherently evil? No. You turn the clocks back far enough, there was a point where they didn't think that way. There was a point where they were a baby that was innocent. So between the point of that baby and where they are, something happened. And it's not justifying their actions to explain them, which is another video I did. Justification is not the same as an explanation. Yes, we should deal with them. Yes, they should go through the court of law, and they should be, serious implications should be done. However, does that mean we can't have a rational look at what led them to get that way? You can do both. But people that aren't into nuance want to break us into different camps. Either you're an apologist for this, or you're making it about this or that. No, I just want to talk about the issues as they are. Quick question: Venus Project, the Zeitgeist Movement, and the good folks at Tromsite. Have you ever had figureheads on to talk? Have you done off-air interviews? And are there any such conversations planned for the future? I'm big. Trust me, my podcast show will be very heavily around I often talk about the concept of a resource-based economy. I just don't utter those words. So I did a video about ownership and the importance of access. There's a lot of people I know who are interested in it, and I don't really want to mention celebrities and that, but there are people I know that would be interested in that. And Kathleen, yeah, it would be good to have terms like that. I should refresh. Well, I'm going to be coming off this in 4 minutes time, actually. I want to stop dead on the hour so that people can watch back. So 4 minutes, guys. Are there any questions? And yeah, if anyone has not yet donated to Patreon, please do. Patreon.com/Myles Dyer. If I can get $29 more, um, that would be amazing. Hit the $400 mark. That would actually mean that a quarter of all raised has happened tonight, which is phenomenal. And it's going to make me feel amazing. I mean, I feel amazing now, having done $70 increase or 63. And just to go through some of the stuff you get from being a patron. So on the one hand, and something else, when I become self-sustaining, is I can turn off ads and all that sort of stuff from my videos. But I have a Patreon only feed, so every time I upload a video, I do a blog post with it. Now, the blog post isn't always the best written thing in the world. It's also to do with just what I'm feeling, like what was I thinking about when doing this video, what's my thought process, and sort of having an open conversation about ideas. You also, if you give $5, you get early video access, which hasn't always happened, but I try and get it to you 24 hours before. And you have the monthly show, although for $5, I'm going to try and make that the weekly one. And then the monthly one will be a public one like this. And Deborah, thank you so much. Thank you. And I want to get back to doing the weekly newsletter, because I used to do a monthly newsletter where I used to give facts and figures. Some people aren't interested in it, and that's absolutely fine. But for me, it was about saying this is where we are in subscribers and Patreon, and this is what the goal is. Because I find that if I communicate with my patrons where we are, it keeps me grounded, and it means every step of the way you can have an input on what I do. That's not to say, though, that patrons therefore have control on what content I create. But then it sort of goes into my whole thing about value systems, which is life's not about telling people what to think or do. It's about, if we reveal ourselves and have an honest conversation about things with a common goal in mind, it does influence what we think and do. And as long as we're open and transparent about it, even if it's not exactly what you wanted to see, you can at least understand it and be a part of that conversation beyond. So hopefully that makes sense as well. 1 minute left. I just want to finish just with a huge thank you to everyone who's tuned in tonight. I was a bit nervous doing this. I was excited, and I had all this stuff written. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And I thought it'd be good if this could be used to get some more people becoming patrons now they understand what I do. But I've gone for it, and 20 minutes in, I was like, I think this is going all right. And it's just like, this couldn't have gone better. I've been quite straightforward with how this has worked. I was quite organized with it. Obviously, new patrons have signed up with enthusiasm, which I'm grateful for, and we've had a good Q&A. Keep it real, answer. I'm in for a year. That means a lot. Cool. I'm going to end it now, dead on an hour. So I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for tuning in. Expect a new video from me on Tuesday. And anyone who's become a patron, you'll be able to write on the patron wall. And I always have conversations and hear your thoughts and feedback there. And for anyone with any questions about what I do and what this is all about, as soon as I close this live stream, you'll be able to watch it from the start, where I explain at quite pace exactly what that is. Love you all, everybody. Keep fighting the good fight. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and I will see you soon. Adios till next time. And on YouTube as well. Love you all.